Hey folks, this is Mario again, back in the kitchen with you. You know, it's summertime in the Lehigh Valley, everybody's working hard. Maybe you planted a garden, and maybe you just got a lot of stuff left over from the garden, your peppers and your onions and your herbs, but this year maybe the Lord gave you a plentiful amount of this big Italian looking cucumber thing, a zucchini. Where they got that name from, I don't know. I never researched it, doesn't matter, you know it's a zucchini, you know. But you got this massive zucchini or several of these zucchinis, and you wondering, what am I gonna do with this thing? And I'm gonna show you in a minute how to transfer this massive paperweight into a delicious, quick, and healthy meal. You know, this meal is not only quick and delicious and healthy, but for all you folks out there who are interested in, you know, losing weight or lowering your cholesterol, we've got a great recipe. Goes back a long time. My mom taught me this when I was a kid. She used to make this every summer from the garden surplus, and we just got a kick out of it. Now obviously this is the normal variation of what we're going to do, and the dish is really called zucchini soup with garlic dumplings. Interesting. And you might say, well, where'd you get that recipe from? Well, I believe, you know, in some respects, I think as a whole, it's a Pennsylvania Dutch recipe. So I want to give the Dutch, now I'm going to Italify it like I normally do everything, but I'm going to give the Dutch the credit for this recipe. So some of the ingredients you're going to need, obviously, is a nice supply of zucchini. And then over here is our second main ingredient, and that's maters. You can use any kind of maters, but in this case I'm going to use beefsteak, and I got a different variety, the golden ones here from the garden, and they taste the same. They're really not that different. The texture is a little bit different, and you can use Roma, obviously, or you can use a wide variety of different tomatoes. We're going to need a little tomato sauce because sometimes nature from the garden doesn't provide everything we need to make it the first notch type soup. So we're going to add a little base to it. This is a little finality product there for garnish. We're going to use garlic. Well, believe it or not, you know, you might say, I thought Italians only used, no, the Dutch and other cultures, these farmer type folks from Pennsylvania have a wide and long history of usage of garlic. I need a little flour, I need some water and various spices, and we'll get the show moving forward. And you know, I got some stuff going on in the back here, so it might be a little distracting. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the vegetable cutting board. And this is like a garlic cutting board. I've always talked about that. You know, why would you use two, three different cutting boards? Because again, you don't want garlic in your cantaloupe, and you don't want onion with your strawberries. So the kids really don't like that, and they tell you when you cross-contaminate, not necessarily bacteria, but flavors. So we're going to use the good vegetable cutting board made out of some sort of butcher block material to get our vegetables moving. So the first thing we want to do is core all of our tomatoes. I wouldn't be necessarily crazy about rinsing them off and sterilizing with all that, you know, apple cider thing I used to do or normally do. So in this sense, we're going to make them skinless tomatoes. So we're going to take the tomatoes as is. We're going to plop them in a nice little shallow pan of steaming water, and you probably want to put the holes up, kind of convection in there, and then we're gonna lid it, put the top on it, and we're gonna let it do its thing for, you know, a good 5 to 8 minutes. And our goal here is really just to get the skins off the tomatoes. So back to our drawing board, and what we need to do in the meantime is get a pot of boiling water right here, because that's going to be our dumpling water. It's kind of like the Pennsylvania Dutch pasta program, you know. I'm going to call it Dutch gnocchis, but there's no real potato involved. It's predominantly just a flour mixture. And I know you know how to make this stuff because you have your own variation, but this is how Mom taught me. Okay, so here's your zucchini. This is a big mahalf, you know. In Italian, they would have a name for this, zucchini, but like the family in general, they would call it a gogozza. You know, and I've always loved to say that word because it just sounds so cool, a gogozza. That's typically squash in Italian, but we're talking about similar families here. You know, did you know my name, I'm not to get too personal, Mario, I was named after the famed singer back in the 50s. My father loved him, Mario Lanza. He was an opera singer. Many of you who are older know that name. But Mario Lanza's original name, he was from South Philadelphia. His original name was Antonio Gogozza. That was his real name. So if you had that name, you would change it to Lanza too. So at any rate, we have this, this zucchini. You want to take the end off of it and discard it. I'm not going to use all this zucchini, obviously. So in this case, I'll just take some of it down. This little knife can do a big job if you use it right. So I'm going to use about this much of it. I'll save this here for, you know, maybe zucchini bread. We can make enough zucchini bread there to build a small fortress, as you know, using it as bricks. So we have this style zucchini and this style zucchini. So we're gonna half it first. See this one here? That's the problem with the larger ones. The larger they get, see, I didn't notice this until we just opened it. The larger you get, you know, the more disfigured some of the interior can become. So I don't know if I'm going to use all that because it doesn't look like it doesn't really have the consistency I'm looking for. It's missing some of its hydration, but I will use some of it. But I thought I would show that to you just to show you how big and obnoxious they can get. So apparently there's not a benefit to having the largest zucchini on the block. You want to have more petite zucchinis. And how do you get zucchinis like this? You get busy and you forget about them for a week or two when you go on vacation, and then you come back. So I would have to venture to say that the smaller zucchini probably gives you more of an appetizing effect. That's what you're looking for. This is okay, maybe the bulk fill up, but this is the one you're really looking for. So I would go triple like this, 3-way cut, and then you want to keep them about, you know, roughly 1/2 to 3/4 inch, somewhere in that size. You know, you want to accommodate the spoon with a little bit of tomato, a little bit of zucchini, and a little bit of everything else. So you don't want one portion of the product to be overwhelming. So that's a nice looking zucchini right there. You might say, well, what benefit does a zucchini have for me other than, you know, it has a lot of benefits to it. Zucchini, number one, is very high in fiber. So if you're looking in your life to be a regular person, if you know what I mean, zucchini is probably one of your best friends in terms of getting your dietary track on track. Zucchini is the green stuff. Whenever you see green, even if it's just skin, super high in antioxidants. From what I understand, years ago, my mom taught me zucchini is very high in magnesium. You know, and if you take the proper amounts of magnesium, it's going to help with heart function. There's a lot of people out there that go to doctors for, you know, heart irregularities and various, you know, so-called deformities, and really what they're really lacking is magnesium. Did you know that all the soil in America, the vast majority of it, due to the aggressive farming over the years, is very depleted of magnesium, and that's something that we need every day. So you have to get it back in your system, and zucchini naturally has that. You know, obviously you should consider taking a supplement too, maybe a liquid or a powder form. So now you see the skin variation on this zucchini. This one is really tough. It's almost in the lines of an eggplant or even harder. And I would venture to say that even rendering it down, it's going to offer, you know, a tough scenario in cooking. I'll be honest with you, I might just forego that zucchini just for the sake of having a better product, because hand picking your items for your meal is critical. So while the zucchini is sitting there waiting for you to do something with it, we can we can get the tomatoes as is. If you're strong enough to pick it up with one hand, come over to a bowl and just plop them tomatoes right in there. Cold water. Don't attempt to touch these tomatoes at this point. I know this is common sense for the experienced cook, but you might want to get anxious and touch them tomatoes. You will get burnt. It's a bit overwhelming. So just get the cold water in there and let the tomato rest a little bit. And after about 30 seconds of being in that cold water, look what happens. The skin just, you can just take it right off. See that? I'll put that there. You can take it right off. For some reason, these yellow ones seem to get skin off quicker, and the flesh is a little mushier. But that's okay, because it's all going to turn to some sort of mush eventually. Remove it. You can keep the skin in, no problem. If you like that strandy type, you know, skin environment in your mouth, that's all right. You know, that's old school, and it's kind of got a rustic feel to it. For this particular recipe, for me, I want skin off, because I want the. I mean, you can have a little bit here and there, but I want the majority of that texture out of the taste. Okay, so now we can dump most of that water out, keep a little bit of the juice in the bottom. There you go. We've got a tomato product that's ready for the next step. In the meantime, I'm going to take my zucchini and just put it in another little pot, just to kind of get it out of the way, right there. I'm going to take the gogotsa here, or the zucchini, the one that's the impregnated one, the one from Chernobyl, and we're going to just put that over the side for a second. Now we could take those tomatoes and bring them down to, this is the size that you kind of want. You want a half the tomato, bring it down, score it a couple times, larger chunks like this, because you want a tomato bite. You don't want a tomato soup. I mean, you can do that just by opening a Campbell's can of soup, but you want a chunky beefsteak flavor, and that's kind of how you want to do it. There's a piece of that skin left there, residual skin. Looks kind of odd, but it works. Once you get it in the pot and you get it moving, it really does work. This is a hearty meal, and if you're looking for like a good vegetarian meal where, you know, obviously you don't incorporate any kind of animal product. I know there's a lot of folks out there that, you know, lean towards that. This is definitely that. I mean, it's garden grown. You know, it's low in fat. The zucchini, you know, and obviously fiber, offers a lot of antioxidants. Now you doing the tomatoes like this, now you're talking a high level of antioxidants. You know, you're talking vitamin C galore, and that important lycopene action from the tomato. You know, there's something about, believe it or not, there's science that says that rendering a tomato down, partially cooking, or even making a sauce, is actually healthier than a raw tomato, because when you break the tomato down, there's the extraction of a more intense version of the lycopene. So we've got our tomatoes, you know, cooked off and cut off in part. Okay, we're gonna bowl them up in a minute without getting them all over the floor, because the missus doesn't like that. Look at that one there, doesn't want to cooperate. We got him going now. Thought he could escape the pot. That's not going to happen. Okay, nice little damp cloth so we can make our table and our palette a little cleaner. You know, you're the artist. You know, you're at home and you're wondering, how am I going to do this? You know, the world is your canvas, and every one of these ingredients that you're using is part of your artistry, your makeup, and you're gathering, you know, pigments for your paint. You know, and the painters years ago used to hunt down for wild berries. They used to get pigments from stones, believe it or not, animal blood, all kinds of things to make their paint and their pigment. And you're doing that today in a more modern sense. You're hunting down your ingredients and your paint for your picture. And this is it. So the world is your canvas. Don't be afraid of it. Take charge of your kitchen, and who cares how it turns out? You did it. You know, you went out and you created this effort. So our next goal is to get this garlic, violating my own policy concerning cutting boards. We're going to get this garlic down. The key on this garlic here is large chunks, rustic, bitey chunks of garlic. You know, sometimes when you whip the garlic up in one of these little machines, you know, these puree deals, it does something to the garlic. When you emulsify garlic, it changes the flavor. It really does. It changes the texture. In this case, this is how you want your garlic. There's a reason, you know. So over here, you know, as we got this pot here, you want a Dutch oven type pot. This will work. So you want a large amount of good olive oil. I guess you can use any kind of oil, but in this sense, we're not going to be high flash pointing this oil. We're just going to cook it very soft and tender. Okay? Wooden spoon inside of the cast iron effect. You don't want to mar your product there. You never want to get a spoon that has metal and start doing this on your pot. Number one, it ain't going to last long. It's not going to last long. And your wife is going to be upset when you have to buy a new one. So, see how that garlic is just quasi-simmering? That's what you want on low simmer, because this type of pot dispenses the heat in a convection, you know, even systematic way. You want a heavy base cast iron type pot. Ooh, a little pyrotechnics in the back there. I like that. That was extra. It was 4th of July a while ago. So, all right, we got this going on. Just the right consistency you're looking for. Water is boiling, and I'll show you where that goes in a minute. It's kind of interesting. And this is like a pasta steamer pot strainer combination, and it's neat to get one of these if you can find one. They're not that expensive. The next thing you want to do is render down your zucchini. So as the garlic is making its way down, you know, you don't want to fully fry it because you're going to burn it and brown it, and then you're going to have crunchy garlic. Forget that. Soft, tender, supple garlic. The next thing to do is zucchini chunks in there. Okay? You can use your hands now and then. Then you're going to work the zucchini in there. Coat it with the garlic, almost like using it as a mixing bowl at the same time. And then, as that's going forth, make sure you're on the front here. You're on kind of like low heat, because she will stick. Even though you're porcelain based, she will stick. If you want to, put that lid right back on there, and we'll go to the next step. All right, so we'll take our tomatoes, we'll put them aside. They're ready to go for step 2, 3, 4, whatever we're missing here. And now we're going to make our dumplings. I'm looking for the right pot. You know what? I might transfer here. Have a little. I need this pot here because it works better for the dumpling application. You know what? I'm using the wrong word. It's not a dumpling. It's a dough ball. Okay? So we're going to put 1.5 cups of flour into a large mixing bowl. Basically, the ingredients in this program is basically a little bit of salt, half a teaspoon. Let me get this. A dash of black pepper. And that's it. You know, and I'll show you some other seasonings in a minute to finalize your dish and make them right. All right, so as we have this mixture going, you want to sift the seasoning into the flour for even distribution, and you're going to add water incrementally here, a little bit at a time, because if you bombard it with too much water, two things are going to happen. You're going to clog up your whisk, and two, if you overdo it with water, then you got to add more flour. And then if you do it again, you're just creating a huge, excessive, you know, flour dough ball process. So you want to kind of like that. And the consistency you're looking for is not a pancake batter. It's more of a, how can I say it? Could use a little bit more water. You got to get that consistency just right, or else it's not going to work in your favor. So don't be afraid to put pressure on it. You got to mash it down sometimes. I may have violated the cardinal rule of too much water, but we're getting there. You want it to where it's like a thick, doughy paper mache scenario. I'm going to keep whisking it. I'm going to beat the devil out of it. Don't be afraid to turn your bowl and make these sharp movements down. We're almost there, actually. If I can add just a little bit more flour, it'll give me the right attachment. It's almost like this glue effect that you're looking for on the spoon. Not quite yet. Just a little bit more flour. Pretty close, folks. The way to test it is to get your spoon and see how it complies. And that's about it right there. That's what you're looking for. Where you spoon it off and it doesn't really come off, but eventually it just drips on you. That's when you know you're home. Okay, we got dumplings in motion, or whatever you want to call them. Now we've got our little zucchini mixture going here. It's cooperating quite well. You should smell it. It smells great. And I like to put the zucchini in first and work it down because it takes the longest. So, but right now we are qualified in timing to put the tomatoes in action. So we got nice chunks of tomatoes going in. I'm gonna mix. Look how big and beautiful those tomatoes are. That's the bouquet you're looking for. It's a color thing too. So colors work. Now you're not afraid to turn it up, because now we need the real action, and the action comes from the heat. The heat is going to take the water effect out of the product, both of these vegetable products, and it's going to create its own broth. But we are going to add some sort of liquid to it to make it more of a soup effect versus a chunky meal effect. All right, we've got our water going on over here. We'll put our lid on it. We'll let this go crazy if we can in a minute. You know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea right now to add in your tomato sauce. You don't want any kind of Italian herbs, basil and all that. Forget all that. As far as, you know, you want straight tomato sauce. Any generic sauce will do, and you need a little bit of a boiling effect. So a little bit of that, not a lot, just a little bit for color and for consistency. Put the lid on it and let it do its thing. Okay? Now we got that dumpling thing going on. They're sitting up for a few minutes, and there's a little bit of a science to the dumpling thing in that you want to take the dumpling and this is how you want to do it. You want to scrape a small amount of dumpling like that. Actually, maybe a half a teaspoon, and believe it or not, you're going to into there. Don't be afraid to. You're making these little gizzards, dough gizzards, like that. And don't be afraid to dunk the spoon into the water so it releases on the next application. And you're going to sit there and do this until you're really bored. Because if you have 10 people to feed, you need a lot of little dumplings. Okay? So I'm going to continue to do this. Okay, back here at the final segments of the zucchini with garlic dough ball soup, kind of Pennsylvania Dutch style. We got the dough balls working in the back here. They're just about ready. It's a tedious process, but I make all these little critters here to sort of give the soup a filler and a little bite to it. And before I do that, you know, feel free to adventure into certain seasonings. You know, for example, if you want to, you can have, you know, if you got a basil plant laying around, like I had one for pesto a couple days ago, you can surely add some nice fresh basil from the garden. I wouldn't put mint or probably parsley in it. I don't think it would work, but basil, I think in this case, really does work. So Obviously, you want to mix that through, render it down. Remember, a little bit of salt. It's nice to get the vegetable flavor, but the salt just brings it out. Don't be afraid to put a dash of fresh oregano, you know, or some cooks call it Mexican sage, right into there. I actually add a little bit of a garlic mixture. It's this Chinese blend. I just find it great. Just a little garlic and spice mixture. I know I took it out of the plain Jane Dutch mode, but you know, because their cooking was very simple years ago, so I did kind of Italianify it, if you will, or something to it. My rendition of it. So we've got the salt, we've got the garlic, we've got the basil, we got the zucchini, and we're going to add one more ingredient to it to usher in the final rendering, and that's the Dutch dough balls. Look at those guys down there, aren't they? They're lonely right now. They're lonely, but they need a place to go to, so they're going to have a reunion with their vegetable friends right in there. Make sure there's plenty to go. You get that spoon obviously quickly before they attach to each other, and then you're gonna bring it down, mix it through just slightly. You know, depending on how you like your zucchini, because the zucchini is the deciding factor. Do you like yours fork tender? You know, do you have teeth problems where you can't bite into hard things, whether it's crackers or vegetables or whatever? You might want to cook your zucchini down just a little bit lower. Remember, what's nice about this product here, in closing, from a health perspective, yes, you shouldn't cook and kill all your vegetables because it ruins the vitamins, I get it, and we throw all the vitamin water down the sink. We've been there 100 years, but this one here keeps all those vitamins and nutrients in the pot. So wherever they're rendering off, they're in there. And when you drink this broth with the garlic and the zucchini and the tomato lycopene juice and all, you're getting nature's full effect. We're gonna let that cook down for just a minute, and we're gonna plate up in 30 seconds. Taking all that off. This is an easy meal. It's a 2-pot meal, so be prepared to wash a few things, and it's about a half-hour meal. It's cheap. If you get your zucchini for nothing, you got a couple tomatoes involved. Hey, you can make a whole pot of this stuff here for less than $6-8 or something. And you can feed 6-7 people for 75 cents. I'm going to show you how it's done in a few minutes here. Just got to get a ladle. You know, what's a cook without a ladle? Maybe I don't have one here. I'll just use this little spoon here. We'll improvise, overcome, and adapt. We'll get the nice little bowl here. I think she's about ready to bring some to the plate. A ladle would be better, but in this case, we're going to plate up. Oh, marvelous. This is just one side of it. Look at that, folks. Some beautiful Pennsylvania German style zucchini soup with garlic infused dumplings. Light fare, healthy fare, affordable. If you really want to bring it to the next level and you want to up it and you want to take it out of the simplicity factor, a little bit of pecorino romano. I know that sounds crazy, but it works. It's really good that way. This is a soup the kids will love. It's hearty, it's healthy for you, lots of fiber, and it's affordable, a summertime treat. This is Chef Mario here from the Newburg Deli. Call us about catering. Stop by for a great cheesesteak like no other. I'm so glad to know you. I hope you're having a great summer. I wish you much success in your culinary attempts. And if you have any questions, just email me at newburgdeli@rcn.com. And love to chat with you. God bless you. God bless this country. And we'll see you in next week's episode.
IRS problems? Corvino and Verwise, local specialists in tax controversies, has your solution. Save time and money. Never talk to the IRS again. Call today for a free consultation. Promote your upcoming event with a full-size color poster. For more information, call Harmony Press, located at 717 West Berwick Street in Easton, PA, or visit us online today.